such a beautiful day. Not surprised our numbers are down. Okay, so I decided today that I wanted to share some information. Earth is constantly going through a shift or a state of flux, and we as human beings are always being affected by it. So it's how do we look at it, how do we deal with it, and how do we acknowledge that it's time for us to move forward in some aspect of our life. So I call this the shift to now. I took time to put this together from material I've read from Cal Garrison. We're always in this state of flux. Earth's school was established to provide a place for energy to experience as human beings. Earth's job is to create life and circumstances of life so that, according to the laws of karma, one has the opportunity to learn, remember, and thus evolve. And when I'm talking about remembering, I'm talking about your DNA, what was implanted by family and by past lives. We all look out on our world through our own private windows of experience, under the illusion that it is all there is. We live out our lives consumed by the events that unfold and the laws of karma that bind us to a particular set of circumstances. If we pay attention, over time it becomes clear that we're locked into patterns that we don't fully understand. As we age, those patterns reoccur in cycles. Because we all learn through repetition, these reoccurrences teach us not just about the pattern, but the idea that our fulfillment depends on evolving out of it. So we can choose to repeat it or change. We can look at everything that happens and say, is this in my best interest? Do I need to move something? Do I need to look at something from a different perspective? This is what's so wonderful about our world and the time we're in. Caught up in our personal matrix, rarely do we think about anything beyond ourselves. Life becomes so routine that our trials and tribulations supersede any thought about growing them. Only in the moments of great joy or great sorrow are we prompted to wonder if there's a point to it all. When we go far enough into the question, we wake up to the idea that what we do has an impact on the greater whole, and there must be a purpose to the time we spend here on the earth plane. Well, I think everyone within this congregation is very aware that we are in charge of our life and what we do. In 2012, there was a lot of hype that the world would end on December 21st. I was so convinced that everyone was wrong that I threw a party to celebrate a new beginning in another venture I was into. What most of us don't know is that the great shift of the ages has happened many times before. And since it's quite obvious that we're still whirling through space, one wonders how we manage to ride it out on every precious occasion. The truth is, we are a part of a much larger evolutionary process that has been going on since the beginning of time. About 13,000 years ago, we entered the dark part of the cycle, gradually spinning farther and farther away from the central sun. As we did that, the light diminished here on the earth plane, and we lost our connection to the spirit and fell into separation. Over time, the fundamental truths about the nature of reality got replaced with new thought forms. Thought forms that evolved gradually into core beliefs that were too far from the light to contain any truth. These were transmitted down through the generations and implanted themselves into the collective mind, forming our reference point for everything. Remember, our peers shared their knowledge and truths from what they were taught and learned. And we run in cycles, you know. You get an awful lot of information from those that are around you. Your parents, your teachers, your co-workers. They give you ideas and thoughts, and they're not always the most positive. Once it becomes clear that we're connected to something greater than ourselves, we begin to see that the microcosm, which is the small part, is a larger part of the macrocosm, the whole universe. And the entire universe is evolving towards fulfillment of some larger purpose. We can only assume that it has greater intelligence and some awareness of the master plan. But whether it does or it doesn't, the universe is governed by the same laws that keep all of its smaller components operational. it too is locked into rhythmic patterns and predicting reoccurring cycles. Because time and space are spherical rather than linear, approximately every 26,000 years, the big cosmic slinky meets up with its tail and forms an enormous energetic donut. Okay, so everybody knows that the caduceus runs within the body, right? So think about the caduceus, how we're connected to the sun and to the earth. And think of this going in a circle. When we teach our healing classes here, we often talk about how the energy changes. There's many forms. There's the spiral that goes this direction, comes down. Can't remember what it is right now. Then we have the masculine energy on the right side and the feminine energy on the front, going in opposite directions. And in the back, it's the same thing. So then you have another energy that goes out from your belly button. When you take this into consideration, how could we not be part of a larger project? Do we know all the answers? No, we don't. But the more open you are, the more you learn and grow and move forward. Within this huge magnetic field, so too do myriads of successful smaller cycles come full circle at the same time. Think about how many people were going through so much trials and tribulations around December 21st in 2012. Myself included, but I recognized it was a new era, a new energy coming in. And we have to stay positive with those kind of things. This simultaneously returns us back to what we call zero point manifestation, as a giant step forward in the evolution of consciousness. Think of it, how many of us changed our opinions, our ideas, our ideals around that time, and started looking at bigger pictures and things. That was very important. This is commonly referred to as apocalypse, Armageddon, the end time, doomsday, judgment day, all of that. It's actually a great shift of the ages, and it means that we're moving into new energy and we need to be more open. A new era or a pivotal point where darkness becomes light again. Separation becomes oneness, and everything in creation returns to unity consciousness. Think about it. When you're in the dark, you're groping. Sometimes you can't see clearly. But when we're in the light, we get a clearer picture. That was what was happening to our earth and what we've just gone through. We begin to question and become aware that perhaps things are not always as they seem. Light advances the human energy field within each of us. Think about it, okay? When we teach the healing, we recognize that it's from spirit, through spirit, to spirit. So if you look at it from that perspective, it's a clear indication that we are part of a much bigger picture that's going on. So what you have to do is you have to look at what kind of workshops do you want to take? What kind of classes do you want to be involved in? What's in your DNA? What has been passed down? What's the knowingness inside of you that knows that whatever's going on, there's a bigger picture and you can be a part of it? All of the pain and suffering humanity has co-created over eons of time and is still co-creating to this day is a result of the fact that we moved from light into darkness. Well, now it's time to move back into the light. As we do that, we have the divine birthright of the Christ consciousness. Okay, now, when I talk about that, energetically, what we've done is we've gone full circle. We're back in the energies when Christ, Mother Mary, and John the Baptist walked the airplane. I'm not talking about religion, I'm talking about spirituality, being in the light. He said, what I have done, you can do also, and more. We have this ability. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Focus on it. This amazing transformation will not involve a monumental effort on our part. It's really just a slight adjustment. Ask yourself, what do you want in your life? What do you want to focus on? Where do you want the light to help you move forward? How do you shift your consciousness to be more aware of the new energies that are here? Take a look at the kids around us. How many of them are in tune, aware? How many of them are so bright? My God, I can't even keep up with my 3-year-old grandson. He's so advanced, he picks up my iPad and he knows how to start it and change things, and I'm going, oh my God, you know? How many years between us? The kids are just so bright. At the time of the fall, the galactic night swept over the planet. The original truths were handed down to those who were chosen to preserve them. That information had to be protected. Without it, we would have no way of knowing how to return to the light when it was time to leave the darkness. Too important to commit to paper, the knowledge was entrusted to the indigenous peoples who were the wisdom keepers around the world. So if you're involved in the native things, you're really on track, okay? They were passed along with traditions through their ceremonial practices and their oral traditions for 13 millennia. So they have something. I'm sure some of it was maybe not totally 100%, because we know when we pass on word of mouth, not everything is exact. But the basics are there. So those of you that are involved in the native ways know that you're really on track with what you're doing. But much of this information is now accessible through many forms. Astrology is just one of the forms to assist knowing the timing of what to do. How many people have followed Nostradamus through their lifetime? I have, because he talks about many of the things. I know it's in rhyme, and so you have to really pay attention. But look how, when they go back and they look at what he has predicted, afterwards it shows up absolutely the truth. I find it fascinating. The Mayans were talking about 2012 being the end of the world. Well, it was. The end of the world as we knew it, because we were back in the light. This is all part and parcel of what we're a big party to. So I want to share some insights about June, what we've just gone through, going into July, and what to look for. So Friday, June the 13th, brought a huge surge of transformational energy. Our abilities were further enhanced, as many of us found ourselves literally reeling one way or the other. How many were in a tailspin? Lost appointments, late for something, financial paperwork or legal documents delayed, everything like that was happening. The energies threw me into a tailspin around the full moon, so I detached myself from the world and spent most of my time in the garden. It helps to balance me out and ground me. As you know, I'm blonde and pretty flaky at times, so I need to ground a lot. So I was spending about 8 hours a day in my garden. I found it just helped me tremendously. So June was a time for empowerment, self-love, growth, and expansion in all areas of our lives, as well as the world as a whole. The planet Mercury, what was affecting us, it was in retrograde, and it caused the delay and the timing restriction on most of us. All those missed appointments, the no-shows, all the things, everything that was delayed, anything that could go wrong did go wrong. Okay, so we're now coming into a dynamite time, because July vibrates to a particular number sequence, double sevens. It's the 7th month of a 7th year. Doreen Virtue states that the 7 is the mystic muse in time. It's also the number for introspection, balance, boundaries, and metaphysical disciplinaries. It is the end of the material world and the beginning of the spiritual world and attunement to Mother Nature. So for those of you that are gardeners, get out in the garden, get out in nature, go for a walk. It will help to balance you and help you feel like you're part of the whole again, instead of being scattered. When we are in tune with ourselves and what we enjoy doing in the material world, it unfolds before us like a flower waiting to be picked. Right time, right place. What do you want to focus on? My suggestion is, decide what you truly want in your life. Question. Ask higher self to guide you to what's appropriate. We can all do it. That's what's so wonderful about the spiritual community. We all have the ability to ask the questions for direction in whatever we need. So I suggest, do it. Wednesday night meditation classes are fabulous for that one. In that knowing, there is trust, there is balance, and there is peace. The number 7 is also soul direction. This is very important. Choose your words wisely, as we can be a substantial force to achieve all of our desires. That's what I said, focus. Ask for help and focus. This is the month to analyze your goals, projects, and relationships within the first 2 weeks in particular. It's important to take time to recharge your batteries. What turns your crank? Sitting and reading a book? Sitting in a meditation? Bicycling? What's good for you? Do whatever helps your soul to be rejuvenated. That's what I'm talking about. Creativity will be a big part of staying grounded and focused on what matters to you, and everything else will fall into place with little effort when you focus on what you need to do. So I want to leave you with this thought to ponder. Waiting to develop courage is just another form of procrastination. The most successful people take action while they're afraid. Namaste. Let me thank you for allowing me to share.